2,500 years ago, Pythagoras warned that killing animals corrupts the soul. In India, entire traditions were built on ahimsa, the principle of non-violence. Fast forward to the medieval period, monks practiced vegetarianism for ascetic discipline, while Christianity saw no ethical issue with meat. In fact, meat was indulgence and fasting was virtue. Then came the Enlightenment. Descartes reduced animals to soulless machines, while Voltaire fired back. Open your eyes, they feel pain. The debate sharpened through the 19th and 20th century, reaching a climax with Peter Singer's Animal Liberation in 1975. And yet the arguments haven't stopped. They've only multiplied. Today, it's not just ethics. It's biology, nutrition, climate, and identity. Animal protein versus plant protein. Which is healthier, which is moral, and which is sustainable. This debate is as old as philosophy, but more urgent than ever. So buckle up, we're diving into the science, the lifestyle, and the ethics of the protein dilemma. Friends, a lot to unpack in this subject. This is a highly sensitive subject. It is tied to identity. It is tied to a lot of controversy when it comes to veganism versus eating meat. A lot of masculinity, a lot of femininity talk about something that shouldn't be the case. Let's discuss these things. Let's shed the light, even if we're not going to come to any conclusion today or tomorrow, even if this issue will not be solved in our lifetime, but at least it's nice to think that this problem is not going to go away by itself and we need to face it, even if it's uncomfortable. This episode will be divided in two main sections. The section number 1 will be handling the science around meat versus plant protein, the absorption, the amino acids, who should eat more of this, more of that. And the second part, which is my favorite part, is about the ethics and if it's correct to kill animals, if it's correct to treat animals the way we treat them, to have this trade-off of eating meat, having this abundance of meat that we have in our days. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, let's discuss the first subject, which is the science around it. Why is it that veganism or vegan people or people that eat only vegetables, there's the stereotype that they look as if they just came out of a Dostoevsky novel. They look sickly, they look weak, which I agree, it's a stereotype. It is common, so we see it frequently, but it's not completely true. There's a lot of people that only eat vegetables and look pretty shredded, pretty healthy, and they have a very good fitness level, etc. But it is true. There's some truth in it, and let me explain to you why. Number 1 is because of the lack of some nutrients that are abundant in meat and not very abundant in vegetables or in plants. So I'm going to share with you on the screen a table where you can see that the digestibility, which means that the ease that our bodies absorb and digest the proteins and the nutrients that are in the vegetables, is between, especially the proteins here, we're talking about proteins, between 90 to 99% digestibility. So it's a very high digestibility. While in the plant protein, you have soy, which is very high, but then you go lower and lower and lower. Pea, wheat, whole beans, lentils. It is very difficult to have a very complete diet when it comes to eating plants unless you really think of your diet. So you cannot just eat randomly, you have to think about it. And I'm gonna get to the part where I'll share with you some of the things that you can use, or the mixes that you can use, where you can have most of the amino acids and of the vitamins that are lacking in some plants, but you can have them if you mix some other plants. The number one problem which bodybuilders and athletes, people who are concerned with their muscles, their muscle mass, their strength, face is that the argument is that when you eat meat, you have a lot of this amino acid that is called leucine. This amino acid triggers the anabolic it triggers an anabolic effect and the protein synthesis. I'm sharing with you on the screen now a table that show us how much leucine we need. So leucine is an amino acid that triggers muscle growth, and we need in one shot 3 grams, equivalent of 3 grams of leucine to trigger muscle growth. This is something very important for people who are concerned with hypertrophy, with strength. So it is important, and let's address that. So when it comes to 3 grams of leucine, as you can see in the table in front of you, whey isolate, you need 25 grams to get those 3 grams. And then we go down and list casein, eggs, beef. Then we come to soy isolate, which is also a very good protein, but you can see the difference that you need 38 grams or 1.5 scoop of whey protein to reach this threshold of 3 grams of leucine to trigger muscle growth. And you can see the rest of the proteins as we go down in this table, from soy, which is the best, highest in essential amino acids, most complete standalone vegetable protein, or plant protein, and then you can go down to worse and worse and worse when it comes to at least leucine presence and abundance in those proteins. So leucine is very important, and here we go. You can check the equivalence, do the conversion using this table in front of you. Take a screenshot, pause it, write it down, whatever. This is in front of you. It's yours to take now. It is not only about amino acids and protein, it's also about the availability of some nutrients. I'm going to share with you on the screen the table that represents nutrient security. You can see, as I've mentioned earlier in this video, that some people that rely only on plant-based diets, they look sometimes a little bit as if they're not healthy. And the issue is that they lack some vitamins, most of the time vitamin B12 and iron. And this is something that can be supplemented. So you can supplement, fortify. With this table that I'm sharing with you, you can see that, for example, vitamin B12, when it comes to people that eat meat, is very abundant in meat, eggs, and dairy, while when it comes to vegan diets, you have to supplement that. And this is why it matters. On the right side, you can see why it matters. When it comes to iron as well, protein quality, you have amino acid profile. When it comes to meat protein or animal protein is higher. When it comes to vegans, you have to combine sources, grains, legumes. You have to be more mindful. You have to be some sort of a chemist when it comes to relying only on a vegan diet, at least for now. But with the large language models now and AI, you can get to a lot of recipes easily without doing a lot of effort anymore. When it comes to calcium, zinc, all these things are available in dairy or meat, but as well, you can always fortify. So you can take a look at this table. You can also see creatine, which is very important. We've talked about creatine before. Very important. Everyone is talking about creatine, of course. And it's abundant in meat, but still everyone is supplementing because it's not that abundant, and is shown to have a lot of benefit on health, physical health, and mental health. So here we go. This is the table of nutrient security, seeing in front of you. Now I want to move to a different section, but still around the science and around who should eat more protein, who should eat animal protein, who should eat more plant protein. Before diving into the ethical, juicy part, unsolvable part of it, or solvable, but not now, at least, let's talk a little bit about who should benefits more from eating meat and who benefits more from eating plant protein. You can see in front of you on the screen a quadrant, a picture that will help you understand the split in a more visual way. Older adults, 50 plus, people that start losing muscles, benefit more from eating meat because of this abundance in leucine, which has a higher higher anabolic signal. Now, athletes and bodybuilders, of course, because they need this edge, they need this kick, they need to recover faster, they benefit more from eating animal protein. People with higher iron needs, of course, that's very obvious because of the abundance of iron and the lack thereof in vegetable, plant protein. People with no cardiovascular disease and metabolic risk. So if you're someone who's healthy without any cardiovascular disease, you can eat meat without worrying about harming yourself. This is very important as well. The last point here, people with digestive issues can eat meat. So people with digestive issues usually fiber and diets high in fiber kind of bugs their stomach. If you have IBS or something like that, it's better for you to eat meat. Now moving to who benefits from eating plant protein. Number one, it's people with high heart disease or cardiovascular disease or potential. You might have cardiovascular disease, cholesterol. You will definitely benefit from eating at least a plant-based protein. And you see that a lot in Mediterranean diets as well. Mediterranean diets are prescribed for people with high cholesterol or heart disease, heart problems. Type 2 diabetes, of course, insulin resistance. They should rely more on plant protein instead of meat. People with high risk to get cancer, if you have cancer or prone to get cancer, eating a lot of animal products increase inflammation in your body, so you might benefit from eating more plant protein. People with kidney concerns, of course. Anyone who's focusing on this point, for example, I find interesting because anyone who is interested in longevity, so if anyone who's interested in not bumping into a lot of heart problems, metabolic problems in old age, you will benefit from eating a predominantly plant-based diet than meat or protein animal-based diet. So it's kind of clear who will benefit and who won't benefit, and it's kind of clear that the difference is not that stark. So people try to make it seem as if eating meat is the only way to be healthy or is the only way to be have your nutrients. Now with our day and age, we have a lot of supplements, we have a lot of things that we can mix and match. We have a big understanding on diet, on the human body, so it is not very difficult to work with that now. Now that we covered the science or the part that is around the importance of diet when it comes to animal meat, animal protein, and plant protein, we cannot turn the blind eye from talking about the ethical part, which is the part that is concerned with killing the actual animals that we're eating. It is very uncomfortable to think about this subject, and probably this is why we get defensive when we are faced with this issue. So when someone who's vegan is kind of addressing this problem, people that are not vegan tend to become defensive. And from a psychoanalysis point of view, this means that we cannot confront this uncomfortable reality, so we get defensive and we push back against it. Now, a lot of different lenses we can use to approach the subject. One of those lenses is the Nietzschean argument of authenticity. So Nietzsche is a philosopher or thinker who strong people quote, people who eat meat usually quote. And Nietzsche, in his authenticity argument, says that you can have an authentic choice, a choice that you make for yourself. So if you're eating meat, because everyone eats meat and it's very convenient to eat meat. That's not authentic in Nietzsche's point of view. What is authentic is that if you decide that eating meat is wrong, for example, and I want to be a vegan or a vegetarian, this is a strong, authentic decision that you're making to live according to your own rules instead of following the norm. That's from a Nietzschean point of view. Using another philosopher's ethics, the Kantian ethics, Kant doesn't believe that animals hold the same weight as human beings. They are not end in themselves, but the way we treat animals reflects our moral character and degrades our moral character if we treat animals in a bad way. And let's face it, in farming, in mass farming, animal farming, animals are treated in a bad way. There's no escape from facing this truth. The rock star of animal liberation is Peter Singer, and he has been on the forefront, on the battlefield since the mid-70s when he wrote his book Animal Liberation, as 1975. And Peter Singer is a utilitarian, so he believes that suffering matters, and suffering in general. Doesn't matter if human suffering or animal suffering. If a being can suffer, we should account for that. We are ethically bound to account for their suffering. So in a sense, for example, a pig, he has an argument that goes around the anticipation of death. A pig is not sitting in a farm in the wild pondering death, whether I'm gonna die tomorrow or not. They're not suffering. They're not, unlike human beings, we anticipate death. Animals don't. So, for example, a pig that's roaming around and minding their own business, if a hunter would come and shoot this animal in the head and the animal is not suffering, then in this utilitarian point of view, it's okay. At least from this point of view. But from different points of view, for example, it might degrade our soul, our moral, our ethics, our internal lives. It might degrade us if we kill another being. Now, we're only sticking to Peter Singer's utilitarian argument and the anticipation of death. So when it comes to killing an animal like that, without the animal anticipating death and suffering, it's kind of acceptable on that ethical part. But when it comes to putting animals in factory farming, where I'm going to share with you on the screen now a table that shows animals ranked in their cognitive emotional capacity and their typical farming conditions. So you can see that number one is pigs. Pigs are very intelligent beings. They are almost more intelligent than dogs. So cows after, sheep and chicken. You can see that farming conditions are horrible. Those animals are suffering. Pigs suffer extremely, cows high suffering, sheep moderately high, and chicken at least. And also, and Peter Singer has this argument that the scale of chicken, the amount of chicken that are suffering, if you calculate per chicken, you have the suffering that amounts to a big high number. So you can see that animals suffer, and we know that they suffer in factory farming. That's not ethical. Let's have more fun. Let's make it even more sensitive and add dogs and cats to a hierarchy chart. And let's read that chart. So you'll see it in front of you. You have, if you put those animals in a chart, a hierarchically, you have pigs on top. Pigs top dogs. You will not eat your dog, but you will eat a pig. I eat a pig. But yeah, this is the truth that we can hide from, but it's there. We can be hypocritical, but let's acknowledge that it's there, at least as a first step. Now, pigs, dogs, cats, cows, sheep, chicken. You can see how extreme suffering capacity from 1 to 10. Pigs are almost, they are touching 10, the extreme end of the suffering chart, which is insane if we come to think of it. So cognitive capacity, the times treatment, how they are treated, what their state, their cognitive capacity, and their suffering capacity. So that's a bit sad to think about it. And maybe if we shed the light on it, I know that most people know these things. I know these things for a long time, and yet there is still this kind of resistance against it, which I understand. That we like convenience, we like things to be easy to be done. We don't like change. So when it comes to changing the way our lifestyle, changing the way that we live, we resist and try to hold on to it. I hope that by adding dogs and cats, everyone likes dogs and cats. No one wants to eat their dog or their cat. That will just paint a mental picture to you. Now, on the less gloomy side, on the brighter side, there's always hope in new discoveries in science and technology, innovation. There is hope in what is known now as lab-grown meat or synthetic meat, which is sounds pretty good. I would do it for sure. It is still not in the phase where everyone can have it. It's costly. It takes a lot of energy to produce. The way it's done, it's not that important for now, but they take a biopsy from an animal and they grow it in a lab without having to torture or mass slaughter animals. Now, I know that a lot of people would say that we don't care about animal suffering, or we care about animal suffering, but not in a way that we want to change our lifestyle or to change our diet. So if we insist on keeping the way our food choices and the ease that we can go to the supermarket and have chicken for nothing, it costs more now, but it's practically very cheap still without having to hunt. So these things we can decide not to think about, okay? Some people would say we are the uber species, we don't have to think about lesser species, but we know, and we cannot unknow this. We know that animals, especially pigs, cows, and chicken en masse, suffer. And their suffering, if we want to think in a consistent way, if we want to be real, if we want to be philosophically and ethically consistent, we cannot say that they are not suffering. We cannot just say that they are different species. Therefore, we are taking this wager and then we are going to keep killing them and keep jamming them in these mass slaughterhouses. Another analogy, another thing to a take-home message, that what if in 100 years humanoid robots are among us and they just become super advanced and super independent, that in a way that they believe that they are the uber species and they are, let's say they are conscious, they don't need to be conscious, but they decide that it is in their advantage to disregard us, not specifically harm us intentionally, but just disregard us. And that would be a catastrophe. I think if we put it in this perspective, it is very difficult because we can expect death, we can suffer. Everyone that is listening to this knows that without even having to be in a position where you are suffering, if you think about something bad, if you are depressed, if you are anxious, you are constantly suffering. So we are a species that suffer, and other species suffer as well. We need to think about these things. I hope I didn't just turn the mood into a very gloomy mood, but these are things that we should think about, and I hope you like this video. Tell me what you think about it, like and subscribe, and see you next time.